Hi, I'm Sam Sorbo. You've heard me talk about Mike Lindell, who I adore. You know, he's the inventor of My Pillow, and how that pillow has given me a good night's sleep that I need. In fact, I never knew how good I could sleep before I had my Pillow. Mike continues to roll out new offers on his products, and the latest one is on his towel sets. Towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing until I tried the towels just last year. Now, you have all helped build My Pillow into the incredible company that it is today, and you've trusted Mike Lindell to give you a great night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with his six-piece towel set. The set's made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, and yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with two hand towels, and two washcloths, typically retailing for $109.99. But for a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.99. And that's using promo code Sam Sorbo. So remember, all My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials to get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. You'll find deep discounts on other My Pillow products as well. So enter promo code Sam Sorbo, or you can call 800-625-5983. That's 800-625-5983 for these great radio specials. My next guest is a man who stood firm in the face of tremendous pressure to sacrifice his convictions, his morals, basically the truth. And he stood firm. His name is Jonathan Koeppel. He was a public school teacher. This interview is in 3 parts, and so enjoy this next part. Hi there, I'm Sam Sorbo. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. I'm talking with a fantastic guest who I just met. Jonathan Koeppel is a former school teacher. Wait till you hear his story. And it's a very interesting story, actually, how I know this individual. So he was at a Turning Point event and he met my son, who he tells me has a great sense of humor, which I have yet to see. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's a joke. So Jonathan Koeppel left education to start a construction firm because he got fired. That's how big of a loser he is. And he started a new firm, but he still works in education. For some ungodly reason, he's going to Thailand. We're going to get to the bottom of that also. So help me welcome my guest, Jonathan Koeppel. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey there. I am tickled with all the jokes and humor. I really am. This is great. I'm excited.
He actually accused me of having a sense of humor, which is apparently where my son got his sense. No, my son got his humor all by himself. He's crazy. Crazy sense of humor. But Jonathan, so you guys met, you cracked a joke somehow. Just tell us that quick story so that we maybe can place you a little bit.
Of meeting Braden?
Yeah, just like what drew, because so Braden came home and said, Mom, you got to interview this guy.
I don't remember when it was. It was a while ago, but I'm in a line. We're getting like pasta or something at this random pasta place that's in the event center. And he's standing next to somebody that might have knew the person I was standing with. And he said something, and I actually said something back to him along the lines of like, okay, your mom, it was like a your mom joke. And that's how it started.
Oh, he doesn't cotton to that. He doesn't take crap about his mama.
No, then he talked about my mom, and then, it was okay.
All right. So let's drill down to your story, because you were fired probably for doing something completely sane in an insane system.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I was an advocate for the scientific fact that there are only 2 genders, and it didn't blow over very well. You would think it would in Louisiana, but apparently it didn't. So I found a program called Brain Pop that the school system was paying a subscription for. Kids use it. I mean, you're talking about a lot of money for these subscriptions, and kids spend a lot of time watching videos on Brain Pop. Some of the videos were telling the kids about the pronouns, the rainbow community, the ABC club, that all the police were racist, the critical race theory was all in there. So when I found this, I brought it up at a school board meeting. I played the video on my phone. It shocked the entire community. Parents were calling off, like the phones were off the hook at the school board office. They were not happy because finally parents were involved in their children's education. And quite shocking that the administration, the school board actually had to answer these phone calls and respond to the demands of the parents. Why are my kids being shown this sort of content? And so after about a week or two, the video of me speaking at the school board goes mega viral, 10 million hits on TikTok in like a day, day and a half. Then it gets taken off of TikTok for hate speech. It's all over the news. Fox News shared a clip of it. Every conservative news organization was showing the clip of me speaking at the school board meeting. I was on radio. I was all over the place, and I started getting harassed at work because I was just talking about what happens in the education systems, not just in Louisiana, but nationally, because it's a national conversation. And then the masks, there were issues with the masks. I was not down with wearing a mask all the time. I actually have a bona fide medical exemption, which is amazing. It protected me and prevented me from having to wear a mask. They couldn't make me wear a mask because of medical exemption. That really caused the administration to hate me because I was the only one out of, we have like thousands of employees where I work. We used to work. It's a big school system. And so eventually they fired me. They brought up videos of me shooting guns on the internet. They said I was telling parents that we have liberal teachers indoctrinating kids. And I actually recorded everything undercover with a hidden camera. I learned all the tips and tricks of the trade through the world of politics, put them on blast, filed a federal lawsuit, and here I am about 15 months later, building fences and decks, taking down the school system. We went from 15 existing school board members. We just had an election. We have 8 guaranteed, 9 new school board members. There's a runoff. We might have 9 new members. We flipped the whole board in my region. So it's a pretty interesting story.
Yes, fascinating, like super cool. So you're a warrior, and all it took was for them to insult the truth to get you to make a stand. And you
Yeah,
probably got suckered into it because you're like, wait a minute, this is silly. That's ridiculous. That stuff's a lie. Why are kids being exposed to this? Parents at least should know that their kids are being
yeah.
exposed to this. So what you probably just thought, hey, I'm just performing a public service. Somebody's got to do it. I'll just do it. And what's going
That's
to be the big
exactly
whoop? And now you're
exactly.
involved in a federal lawsuit.
Yeah, and it's actually a massive lawsuit, and it's really a bad day for the people that are being sued. That's all I'm going to say. It's a bad day to be them.
because you believe you will prevail. Because what are
Oh
the
yeah.
consequences to them?
So the consequences to them, other than, I mean, there's a lot of embarrassment, right? I mean, this is, for them, it's quite embarrassing. They've bullied teachers their entire lives. I mean, these people are 20, 30-year veterans in the
You know what?
system.
Sorry, back
Yeah.
up just a little bit. So what is the lawsuit? Who are you
Okay.
suing for what? Because
Perfect.
yeah, we need to put this into perspective, because honestly, they're embarrassed. I doubt it. Look what they were trying to get away with. You
No, they're
think they're
embarrassed
right?
now because I wore a hidden camera and recorded everything that they did to me. It's funny. Let me back it up, right? So I had been harassed after my video went viral. Okay, then I finished out the school year. Over the summer, I went to another Turning Point conference. I spoke at college campuses. I just did a lot of conservative activism. Okay, and I was super involved as a Christian doing ministry stuff. So that's pretty out there as well. Taking a lot of bold stands for marriage and traditional marriage and just being a Christian man of God and all that good stuff. But I come back to school, they're reinstated. They lifted the mask mandate over the summer, so nobody had to wear it. But then the week before we go to school, the governor says we have to wear the mask. And I'm like, that's funny. I'm not wearing it. Like, it's just not happening. They didn't like that. So when I came to work, when we actually did not have a mask mandate in place in our state the day I came to work, and I wasn't wearing a mask. One, there was no mask mandate. Two, I have a medical exemption that I don't have to wear a mask. They sent me home. They said they were going to fire me. I had hearings. I'm like, why are you guys trying to fire me? They go, oh, you're not wearing a mask. I'm like, well, that's like ridiculous. We don't have a mask mandate. And two, I have a medical exemption that you guys approved. It went from that. Then they said, oh, well, you're an activist. You say things in public that you shouldn't say.
That we
You go to
disagree
school board
with.
meetings.
How dare
Yeah.
you?
You rally parents. I mean, I made a post one time, and then like 400 or 500 parents showed up to a school board meeting, and they blame me. They tried to say, Jonathan, you started an insurrection. I'm like, what are you guys? Like, I'm not Donald Trump. This isn't an insurrection. It's a
You're
bunch of
January
parents.
6th all
Yeah,
over again.
that's what they were trying to say. And so they hated me because it just, the whole community, I'm talking thousands of parents, started getting involved in their kids' education. So they thought they could just get rid of me. And usually the way this works, if you're a teacher, is you get bullied and you say, okay, I'll stop. But me, I said, I'm not going to stop because this is America. We have freedom of speech, and everything I do is outside of the workplace on my own time. And I don't even do crazy stuff. Like, I mean, what are you guys firing me for? This is ridiculous. I go speak at a school board meeting and say there's only two genders. I think that parents have the right to, speak with you all, and you don't need to hide information from the community. That's what's so controversial. It. I didn't stop. They asked me if I would resign. I was like, absolutely not. You have to fire me.
Would you please resign? Because you're making me uncomfortable.
Basically, yeah. They wanted me to. It also frees them of liability. If I
Yeah.
resign, it's my
Yeah.
fault. If they fire me,
You
then
should
I can
have
sue them.
you should have said, give me a $900 million severance package and I'll resign. Okay.
I wasn't that bold at the time. I was thinking like, 2 million, 3 million.
That's how they get you. That's how they get right. It's just the baby steps. And they try to make you a coward. They try to show
Yeah.
you you're risking something and you just don't want to do this. And so you step sort of gently through it. And then pretty soon you're like, holy smokes. If I'd known their bottom line back then, maybe it would be different, but that's okay because the lawsuit is much better than all of that. So keep going.
Yeah. So let's see what.
Okay, so they asked you to resign. You said, I'm not
I was calling
resigning.
attorneys. Yeah, you're gonna have to fire me. So that led to another meeting, and just keep this in mind. When I showed up to school, I had a feeling that I was going to get fired. Nobody told me this, and I happened to have like this setup to record things with a hidden camera. I had the setup. It was for something else. It was for some journalism stuff I was working on. That I didn't even get to use that content, but I still had the camera. I said, you know what? I'm going in. I'm going to record these suckers and I'm going to get them. I think they're going to fire me today. Sure enough, the day I wear the camera and the audio recording equipment is the day they fired me. So I captured every event that took place from the day they told me to leave campus to the day they officially fired me. And they had no clue. And the reason I did that, they've bullied and caused hundreds of teachers to resign in the past. They have always won by saying, well, it's their word against ours. And we're, 10 administrators and we're in these private meetings and you're not allowed to have legal counsel. You're not allowed to record. But in Louisiana, it's a one-party consent state. So anybody can say, hey, you're not allowed to record. But because of the Louisiana Constitution, the way it's written, it doesn't matter. You can record whatever you want as long as you, the person recording, consents and are present in the where the recording is taking place. So I recorded everything, and they said stuff like I couldn't vote. They kicked me off of campus. I didn't have access to my polling place. I'm like, guys, you're telling me I need permission to go to my polling place to vote?
That's voter suppression.
Oh yeah, that's actually mentioned in the lawsuit. What the man said about needing permission to vote. That video is also on my Instagram page for the world to see. If anybody
give us
wants
the
to
Instagram page so people can just write it down. I'll put it in the show notes too.
Yeah, it's at Jonathan Koeppel.
Okay,
at
that's
Jonathan
easy.
Koeppel. Yeah, and so I mean they did all kinds of stupid stuff. And then they told me I had to wear a mask. They're not wearing masks. They said we were 6 feet apart in the video. We're not 6 feet apart. There's so much. I have hours and hours and hours of videos. I'm just planning to release them all one by one until this court case is over, because they are acting like little weenie babies. And they're just dragging their feet. They're delaying things. They're
Is that
just
a medical term, weenie baby? Is that a
uh,
technical term?
yeah. If I looked it up by definition, it's I don't know. I really don't know if it's medical or psychiatric, or like what it is. So it's psychotic for sure.
Psychotic. There
Yeah.
you go. It's apt. Okay, so the lawsuit is against the school administrators?
All right. So it's a couple people, right? So I'm suing the school board and the school board superintendent, because the school board superintendent is who signed all the papers to fire me. But there are some characters mentioned in this lawsuit: the assistant superintendent, the associate superintendent, and my principal, and the assistant principal where I worked at. So there's a lot of people mentioned, but the two entities being sued, it's the school board itself, the system, and then the superintendent who approved and oversaw everything that was happening.
So the school board, is that an entity that's covered by some kind of insurance? Are the individuals covered by some kind of insurance? Who's going to foot the bill when
I
you
don't know.
win?
I don't know who's paying the bill, but they got like $80 million from Joe Biden for COVID, and it's just sitting in a bank account, and they have insurance. So they're not strapped for cash. And this school system is a $500 million system. Every
Yeah, yeah.
year they get like $500 million in from us, the taxpayers, property taxes and everything else. In fact, almost half of our property taxes goes to the school system. Used to be the top, now it's not anywhere near the top. It's really declining in performance.
Yeah,
Which
but I
is,
hate to tell you, even when it used to be near the top, it was still, 27th in the world. So big whoop.
well, I mean, look, it was at the top of Louisiana, which is last in America. So it's
Yeah,
not saying
exactly.
much.
Okay. You're making my point for me. Yeah. It's, when we say, oh, it's really great, I always say great compared to what?
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
know,
I'm going to Thailand. It's an education conference with people from all over the world. And when you look at the globe and you compare students from around the world, the USA is not at the top. We're not at the bottom. We're kind of like lower middle. We're like lower mid ranking and everything. And we're not going up.
in developed countries, we are 30th. Well, we're 30th. So that's probably lower middle of
Yeah.
developed countries at this point.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Our education system is not a system of education. So in terms of school ranking, we're 30th for schooling, but schooling is not education. Schooling is actually the opposite of education. So the idea that we're comparing, whose crap smells better, it's still all crap, right? I mean,
Yeah.
seriously. So the first thing that you learn in school that you have to do before you ask a question is raise your hand, right? Raise your hand is a barrier to entry. So what you're really learning is don't ask. Education should begin with a question. So it's anti-education from day one. It's from the get-go. It's not education. It's schooling. Academics are one thing, but the world doesn't revolve around academics. You know
You're right.
that. I know that, right? You're
Yep.
not relying on your academics to
I'm
go and sue
building
these
fences.
people
Oh, well,
and
that.
win your case. Has nothing to do with academics. They weren't relying on the academics when they stepped in dog poop, when they tried to fire you unrightly, wrongly, and without cause and with abandon, and by stepping on principles and virtues and morality and crapping all over that. They used their quote unquote education, which was
Yeah.
basically the opposite of education. And so, and by the way, the only reason that they stepped in it, the only reason that they're in this mess is because they think they know so much, and they know
Yeah.
nothing because
They're
they went
dumb.
through the system and they adhered to the system. The reason that you've escaped the system is because you realize the system is dog poop and you don't want it anymore. And so now you're relying on your integrity and your morality and your virtue and your understanding of how humans work. So the reason that you had the recording devices on and ready to go is because you had your spidey sense, your sixth sense that something was going to go down. You might want to preserve it for posterity, and so you turned it on, and you're like, well, let's see what happens today. And sure enough,
It
right?
happened.
And that had nothing to do with your education, because I guarantee you didn't go to school for that.
No, that was just total discernment, and just felt like it was the day to do it.
Oh my gosh, discernment. What a beautiful word. The Bible
Yeah.
talks about discernment. Our education system doesn't ever talk about discernment. They don't want you discerning.
No, no. I just had Rebecca Weber on my show, and she talked about discernment. It's like, what if you just taught kids? And she's the CEO of AMAC. It's like senior citizen benefits for seniors in America, and it's like an older person organization. But they got 2.4 million members, and she's heavily involved in the conservative movement. She's a Christian, and she's talking about discernment. She goes, these kids don't know how to discern who's a bad guy and who's a good guy, because they're being taught how to be dumb. That's what's going on in school. You're being taught how to be stupid, and you have no discernment. You don't know what's right, what's wrong. They're telling you a boy's a girl and a girl's a boy. So discernment doesn't exist in today's younger generation.
And that's how they're going to win, which they won't, but that's how they plan to win, is by basically distracting young children. And by the way, it's all of an effort, right? Social media, entertainment, everything is trying to distract you away from truth, which is discernment, right? Because the idea that there is a truth means you have to discern between truth and falsehood. And they're saying, no, you have your truth, I have my truth. And of course, that's all a lie. And
That's
she's
stupid.
absolutely right. Rebecca, what's her name?
Weber.
Oh, excellent. I have to get to know her.
Yeah.
There are a few people out there who are figuring this out and putting it into words properly, right? So that the rest of us can pay attention. And
Absolutely.
discernment is one, sacrifice is one, right? So they don't teach us to sacrifice in school.
Well,
They
that's
teach
like
us-
you grow people, they don't understand sacrifice. And I meet people all over America at this point, and they go, well, I'm just scared if I do anything, if I go against the grain, if I speak up, if I stand up for myself, for my family, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose an opportunity. I'm going to lose a friend. And I'm like, brother, sister, it's a part of sacrifice. Somebody has to make a sacrifice if we're going to accomplish anything. And if you're not willing to sacrifice, step aside. Let's find people who will sacrifice, and let's get this war over with. Because if we just had people that were willing to sacrifice and surrender and be bold, and they weren't worried about the opinions of everybody else, and they weren't worried about being canceled and losing their jobs, and they just weren't scared, if they weren't just little babies, we would be winning right now.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about that for just a second. Do you remember, I mean, you're too young, but do you remember seeing the news footage, the black and white images of duck and cover during the nuclear Cold War? If in case of a nuclear attack, you were supposed to duck and cover and hide under your school desks. Do you remember that?
No, but does that work?
No, of course not. But they drilled children in cowardice.
Wow.
You understand?
Yeah, teach you how to be a sissy.
Teach you how to be a sissy. And so that's what we have now. We have a number of children who are the children of sissies who attend school, and their parents won't stand up for them. Their parents say, and by the way, like, God bless the parents who go to the school board and say, hey, you guys have switched out your school board. If only that was going to do anything to change what's actually happening, right? But it's in the textbooks already, and all the teachers have gone through the teaching colleges. So you think your school board's going to tell a teacher, hey, stop beating the children, and that teacher's going to say, oh, I'm sorry, I thought beating the children was correct. No, the teacher's going to say, yeah, I'll stop beating the children. But they believe that beating children is correct, and so they'll continue to do that. That's just how it works. But the parents who are going to the school boards and they're like standing up for their kids, and I say to them, pull your kids off the front lines. You go and fight the war. That's fine. Take your kids out of the war zone first. Right?
Yeah. Wow.
So what they're doing to children right now is child abuse.
Absolutely.
I don't know how the children are going to recover from that. How are the children going to recover from 2 years of masking?
Well, this is how they recover. They actually become the future Antifas. That's what happens. That's the recovery. They become everything you don't want them to be. So they get into this mask nonsense. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to express their feelings. They're hurting, they're sad, whatever. But then they find these crazy psycho people that say, "Oh, I can identify with you," which are usually the Antifas and the ultra left libs. And so what they do is they find that community of psycho people and they just cling to the other psycho people, and we're just creating a generation of psychos. And I think that's what they're doing. They're just making little
Again, with the
Antifas.
technical jargon, creating a generation of psychos. The technical jargon is just beyond me. By the way, that's not recovery. No, you know what? There will be two responses. This is the good news, right? Because there is a silver lining, because we know how this story ends. The good news is there will be some children who go, screw that. I don't want any part of that. And then they become staunchly opposed to anything that smacks of conformity or, but the other ones will be left for the wolves, and the wolves will devour them. And you will have a number of transgender children who have done top surgery, bottom surgery, are forever indebted to the pharma, right?
Yeah.
Because now they're lifelong, and the young women who go for the abortions because they bought the lie that sex is free and there's no responsibility is a good thing and all of that. And so they will have to live with themselves. And then you'll have the others, the kids who go to TPUSA, who are like vigilant, saying, no, we stand for truth. We know what truth is. I want to talk to you briefly about sacrifice, because we know the schools teach us you can have it all, right? You don't have to sacrifice. And you know that we can't have it all. You can't have it all. There's too much. You can't have it all. Right. So we know this, but we buy the lie somehow that we should be able to have it all. We should be able to have the family, raise the family, have all the love and adoration of the family, but also work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and never see the family except on our time when it works for us or whatever. You took a stand. When did you understand that you were going to make an enormous sacrifice, and what was the trade-off? Because in every sacrifice, the sacrifice is a trade. This is what they don't tell you. They make sacrifice into this bad thing. Like, don't sacrifice. In other words, don't just lose the thing. But the fact is that you lose the thing to gain the greater thing. That's the Christian definition of sacrifice. That's why our entire religion centers around that word sacrifice, right? And the sacrifice that Christ made on the cross gave him the church. That was the deal. Like, he sacrificed something that was less than his human life for the greater, our personal redemption as a whole, right? I mean, it's an incredible story. So you were faced with, hey, we need you to resign. And you're like, well, I'm not going to resign, but hold on, there's going to be a sacrifice, right? At some point you realized, okay, I'm going to have to sacrifice. What was the trade?
At the time, there was no trade. It wasn't like get this for that. I just remember I said, I'll stand firm on everything I believe. And it's a hill I'm willing to die on because nobody else is doing it.
That's
And
the trade.
I felt that if I did it, I kind of felt like I was protected. I said, well, there's no way they would fire me because, for one, I got the freedom of speech. Like, what idiot would say that they're going to violate my freedom of speech? That's not just in the US Constitution, but then the Louisiana Constitution protects people like teachers and allows you to be able to speak openly about all the stuff that I spoke about. So I said, what kind of idiots would violate the US Constitution and the Louisiana Constitution? So I felt very secure in doing everything that I did. Now, when they said they were going to fire me, I said, dang, well, there goes the teaching job for the rest of my life because I'm public enemy number one. But then I said, that's not so bad. I'm sure there's going to be something on the other side at some point that'll just be a better opportunity for me. It might happen, might be now, might be later. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm sure I'm going to be okay. I knew that nobody else was doing this sort of thing at the time 15 months ago. I mean, you were hearing a little bit about people kind of like rising up, but you weren't hearing about somebody that was just like taking the sledgehammer to the whole system and suing them in court, taking them to the federal
No,
court.
that's true.
And
That's true. We
I said,
we weren't hearing that.
if I did it, I guarantee it's going to spark something all over the place. And sure enough, it did.
Okay.
And
I'm going to pause you right there because I realize we've been talking for quite a while and I haven't taken a break. So we need to take a quick break. But when we come back, I want to talk to you about sacrifice because you did understand the trade, even though maybe you haven't quite figured it, like understood it. So pause right here with me for just a minute. We'll be right back after these messages. This is the Sam Sorbo Show.